Hello everyone, welcome back to Suvi English channel. In today's video, let's have a discussion on a very interesting short story titled The Verger, written by an English writer Somerset Maugham. Before we start our discussion, let's first understand the title The Verger. And before that, let's know the meaning of this word Verger. Verger is a person who works in a church, is the caretaker of the church. He is the one who takes care of all the church activities and church properties. He is the one who makes arrangements for these church ceremonies. And in this story, we have a verger called Albert Edward Foreman, who was working at a church called St. Peter's Church, Neville Square, London. The story, The Verger, has some powerful themes like determination, self-discovery, and adaptability to change. And the hero of this story, Albert Edward Foreman, faces some unexpected challenges, unexpected problems in his life. And however, with his determination, with his self-discovery, and adaptability to the ability to adapt to the change, he overcomes all the problems that he faces in his life. Now let's start our story and see how our hero Albert Edward Foreman faces all these problems and how he overcomes the difficulties, the problems, the challenges in his life. The story, The Verger, begins at a church called St. Peter's, Neville Square, London. It's very popular for ceremonies like weddings and funerals. The hero, Albert Edward Foreman, had been working at this church for the last 16 years, and he was very honest and sincere when it comes to his work. Once there was a function at this church called St. Peter's Church, and the function was christening. Christening means a naming ceremony function of a Christian baby. So once there was a christening function at this St. Peter's, Neville Square. After the christening function was over, all the people left the church, and the verger, Albert Edward Foreman, still wore his verger's gown, his uniform. He had great respect for his uniform, he had great respect for his gown, verger's gown, and ever since he joined the church, St. Peter's Church, he had been preserving all his uniforms for the last 16 years, and he had never thrown out the old uniforms. That was the sentiment that he had with that uniform. He treated his uniform as the dignified symbol of the church. So after the christening function was over, the verger was still wearing his gown, his uniform, and he was busy finishing all the works because he wanted to go home and have his tea. After finishing all his works, he waited for the vicar to come, and he wanted to report to the vicar what all he had done for the day. Who is vicar here? Vicar means a priest at a church. There are actually two vicars in this story, a new vicar and an old vicar. But we do not see the old vicar in this story. We just hear about him. We see the new vicar, and he is waiting for the verger. Albert Edward Foreman was waiting for the new vicar. The new vicar was recently appointed, and he is the in charge of the church. The new vicar was very disciplined person. He was very strict. He wanted to bring some changes in the church. He was interfering in every church activities. He was observing everything, and everybody at the church had to be very careful with him. But the previous one, the old vicar, was not like that. He was very friendly. He was mingling with all the people. He used to go out and dine with the common people. He was very friendly and gentle. But this new vicar was not like that. He was very strict, and he was very disciplined person, and he was expecting all the perfections when it comes to church activities. So after the christening function was over, the new vicar called Albert that he wanted to talk to him. As they both walked towards the vestry, a vestry means a room, an office room at a church. As they both walked towards the vestry, Albert felt uneasiness and he was worried if there was something wrong with his works. As far as his duties were concerned, he was very sincere, he was very hardworking, he was very honest. Even before joining the church as the verger, he worked at various places, but he was very hardworking and sincere. He started his work, he started his profession as a page boy. Page boy is someone who accompanies a bride or bridegroom at wedding parties. So Albert Edward Foreman worked as a page boy. He started his career as a page boy, then he worked as a servant, and from page boy to he became verger, and throughout his journey he had been very sincere, hardworking and honest. But when the new vicar called him, he was worried if something was wrong with his works. The new vicar took the verger Albert Edward Foreman to the vestry, and there were two more people. The two church wardens were also there, and he said to the verger Albert, "See, Mr. Albert, I have discovered that you are an illiterate, you cannot read and write, but you have been the verger for this church for the last 16 years. See, if you cannot read and write, you cannot survive here, you cannot continue as a verger. We will give you 3 months time. Go learn how to read and write so that you can continue as the verger." When the vicar said all this, Albert, the hero of our story, Albert Edward Foreman, said that he was too old to learn to read and write. But as the verger, as Albert was not ready to learn to read and write, the vicar announced his final decision, and the final decision was that if the verger was not ready to take up the lessons, he had to be dismissed from the church. Finally, the verger was dismissed, but it was unexpected. Nobody expected that this verger, Albert Edward Foreman, would be dismissed from the church. He had been doing his work sincerely, he had been doing his work, and everything was fine, everything was okay. But this dismissal was unexpected. It was a major setback in his life. That day, he went home and shared all this with his wife, and his wife was so supportive to him. It was very difficult for him to find another job because he was an illiterate person. We all must understand how important education in our life. But sometimes, though you do not have education, you can still survive, you can still achieve something in your life if you have strong determination, persistence and hard work. Albert Edward Foreman did not give up in his life. An incident and an idea changed his life after his dismissal. Once he wanted to smoke a cigarette, so he walked through the streets, but he could not find any shop which sold no cigarettes. He was tired of finding the shops which sold cigarettes, so he could not find any single shop which was selling cigarettes. Then he got an idea. The idea was to start his own shop, cigarette shop. And then he decided to become a tobacconist. Just within 24 hours, he started his shop and started selling cigarettes and newspapers. He was very confident that he would become successful in his new business. His wife was also supportive to him, though she was doubtful initially about his new venture. Within a few months, his business grew well and he started making good money. And in the course of 10 years, he could establish 10 branches across the country and became a very successful businessman. And every Monday, Albert used to visit all his 10 shops and collect money, and he would deposit the money in the bank. And one Monday, when he collected the money and went to bank to deposit it, the manager wanted to talk to him because he had saved a huge amount in the bank. It was 30,000 pounds. So he wanted to talk to him, and the manager talked to him and he advised Albert to invest the money in the stock market. And Albert said that he was not ready to take risk because he had no idea about stock markets and all. And to this, the manager said that the bank itself would take all the initiative and would take care of everything. The only thing is Albert had to sign on the document. And later the bank manager came to know that Albert was an illiterate. He could not sign, he could not read and write, and he wondered if an illiterate man could earn this much of money. What if he had good education? What if he had proper education? And to this Albert responded with a smile that if he had proper education, he would have been at the church St. Peter's Neville being the verger, and he would have not become successful businessman. Albert Edward Foreman is an example to learn that even without education, one can succeed in his life. When he was dismissed from his job, he did not go to depression. He did not lose his hopes. He kept himself very calm and was very optimistic, and he had the ability to adapt to the change. And finally, he got an idea and he executed that idea well, and he became very successful businessman. So this is all about the story, The Verger. Thanks for watching.